it's nice.
2 o'clock in the morning.
Hello.
So Ryan, are you thinking about the housing?
That's what I was
I'll text him.
Hello.
trying to get a little closer.
Hello.
Have to get some cans of spring and.
Yes, yes. Okay, I get to.
You got a minute and 23 seconds. How do you think I got that? Oh, Chuck's running.
Uh-oh.
Smart man.
So why does finance and personnel have to?
Ask Chuck.
Have to what?
Do the hiring for, I thought that.
The meeting of the Finance and Personnel Committee will come to order. Roll call, Alderperson Ackley.
Here.
Alderperson Feldy.
Here.
Alderperson Perella.
Here.
Alderperson Mitchell is excused. Alderperson Filicki-Pineski is here. All those able, please rise to pledge the flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we also have on the dais with us 2 other alderpersons, Alderperson Decker and Alderperson Joe Heidemann. Thank you. I wanted to call you Joe Mitchell. Joe Heidemann. Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the July 25th meeting.
22 minutes.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Any additions, corrections? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Item number 6, Resolution 452223, authorizing the execution of the Department of Natural Resources Principal for Given Financial Assistance Agreement. This has to do with lead piping. Who wants to talk about this? Chuck? Staff? Thank you.
We looked at it and recommend approving.
It's basically so that we don't have to float bonds or borrow money to be able to replace our lead piping. Chair will entertain a motion to recommend this to council.
Second.
Need it first.
You need a first.
Make a motion.
Make a
Oh,
motion.
sorry, I thought, okay, yes. So I make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend to the council the passing of this resolution. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, motion carries. Item number 7, Resolution 492223, authorizing the appropriate city officials to enter into a contract with the Sheboygan Water Utility to contribute American Rescue Plan dollars, ARPA, for the raw water intake project.
Top middle.
Top middle.
Get warmer, yep.
Okay, warmer.
Thank you, Chair. So
Thank you.
in October of 2021, the council obligated $9,550,000 of American Rescue Plan dollars to the water utility for the raw water intake project. The city ended up receiving in 2 tranches of money from the federal government, $22,006,000. So a fairly large portion of those funds are going to be used towards this raw water project, which is a $43 million project, and will definitely help in keeping water rates lower, as well as assisting with the negative effects of COVID, which is what the funding was for. So the idea is to keep water rates lower and keep the burden off of the resident that pays the water bill. So we're treating, under the ARPA rules and regulations, we're treating the water utility as a subrecipient, and we'll pass through these funds to the water utility, and they will need to follow the terms and conditions that the city has agreed to from the Treasury Department and are attached to the contract that's as part of this resolution.
Okay, are there any questions of Chad? Seeing none, Chair will entertain a motion to recommend to council.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none? Yes.
I was happy to see that we had these funds that we were going to be given at the time with the funds from the recovery fund. That's what I was looking for. And to help keep our taxes, our water taxes or bills down. So I am really in favor of this.
Thank you, Chad.
Sorry to shut this off, but anyway, to that comment, we released last week our
You're not on.
Sorry, we released last week.
You're not on.
Try again. Green,
Wait.
Hang on.
don't touch.
We released last week the city's 6 months expenditure report for ARPA dollars of what's been allocated to date. It's available on the city's website and was pushed out on social media. So there's a chart in there that shows what's been obligated and what's been spent. We've spent about 11 million of the 22 million to date. We've got some pending projects coming up yet that we're waiting for final numbers, one of them being the Lakeshore Sanitary Interceptor Project, as well as a Broadway Avenue reconstruction project, and then some affordable housing projects, cybersecurity, and a police department crisis command pilot project. So there's some projects in the hopper yet that are still putting together, and those contracts will be forthcoming to the council.
Thank you. Any further questions?
No.
Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to recommend to council.
I make a motion to recommend to council.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you very much. The document, item number 8, document number 262223, submitting the report in response to a request for directions from Finance and Personnel on the steps moving forward to complete the compensation and wage scale adoption. I believe this came before us previously.
We've been doing an update.
And we've been doing an update. The update is going to follow this. So what we need is a motion to file this document.
I make a motion to file the document.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to file the document. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you so much. And Item number 9, direct referral by the finance director submitting the current report regarding the progress of the Carlson-Detman compensation study. And there she is.
Thank you. So we have the memo attached in your packet regarding the current status of the Carlson-Detman study. At this point, we have not received the final recommendations or review from Patrick Glynn at Carlson-Detman after the meetings that he had with department heads. So we are still waiting for that final analysis to come in order for us to bring back the actual wage study for you to vote on and either pass along back to council or not. So there were a few other issues that had been brought up, so I just wanted to also look at those with the committee here and get more direction if I need it in order to keep moving forward. So I just wanted to start with back pay. I had several alders ask about doing different versions of back pay via either a one-time payment stipend type or bonus type amount to employees, and that type of payment we would struggle with, but I did spend most of my day on Friday working through our Munis system. The issue that we currently have is that our current version of Munis does not allow for back pay to be calculated within the system. It actually has a bunch of errors in it that then would result in almost every line of every pay back to the back date actual calendar date, that would be a quite extensive amount of work. So instead, we are upgrading our Munis system on this Friday and Saturday, so August 12th and 13th. I did spend, like I said, most of Friday reviewing the new system in the upgraded version to determine if back pay would be easier in that system, because I did work with Munis through our state user group to determine if we could do it in our newer version. And the great news is that we can do it in the new system. So what does that mean exactly? I would recommend that if the council would like to do back pay or implement this compensation study at a time earlier than when it actually gets passed, if that's, let's say, sometime in September, I would recommend that we have an effective date of July 24th. The original date of July 10th, that payroll has already been run in our current version, which is the version we cannot do the back pay in. So the July 24th through August 6th, I believe it is, that payroll will be run in the new version. So we will have the capability to do back pay much simpler, more effective, a lot less room for people errors. So we want to make sure that, I wanted to make sure I relayed the message that July 24th would be the first date, and I hope that is agreeable to the council, because that is 2 weeks off from our original implementation goal, but it is not, at least after the compensation study were to be passed.
Okay. Any thoughts, comments from the committee? Great, thank you. Grazia.
Push your button. There you go.
To make sure I understand it. So regardless of when we will advise the council and perhaps pass it, regardless, we can backdate to July 24th.
As long as we do something this calendar year, we would have to have that payroll back pay completed during 2022. Otherwise, we will run into a lot of fines and other issues with WRS and things like that.
Very good. So you're, I assume the new upgraded will be, you said this 12th, 13th, right?
Yep, it's
So
occurring this Friday.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay. All right, keep going.
Okay, so as mentioned, I am just bringing forward information that has been brought to me so that I can have direction moving forward. At the last council meeting, it was suggested that the library employees be removed from the proposed pay scales. I will say that some alders have expressed to me that they feel uncomfortable passing a pay scale with individuals that they are not truly in charge of. their salaries. So in other words, the library board has the full authority to pass a pay plan for those individuals at the library, and that is Wisconsin State Statute Chapter 43 that gives that authority to the board. So I'm here just presenting it as a topic so that I can get direction on how to move forward.
Okay, thoughts, comments from the committee?
I'm not sure, sorry. Thank you,
Yes, Alder
Chair.
Perrella.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure I understood the first part. So I'm not in agreement with removing the employees from the library from the payroll of the CD, since I do think that they are, that we want to, I'm not in agreement in principle, and also I don't think that this is the right time as well to do it. It seems to me more like a side-tracking of what we are trying to do right now. So we are discussing compensation study, and we are discussing compensation in general. This is not the time to decide that, but I'm not in agreement regardless. However, if you don't mind, please explain to me what you said first. What is it is under the Wisconsin statute again?
I'm going to, yes, defer to Chuck on this one, or Attorney Adams, because he knows it better than I do.
Thank you.
So, yeah, here we go. So the issue is the compensation plan. When it comes to compensation, you actually have no authority over the compensation of library employees. So whatever you pass as part of a compensation plan is irrelevant as to employees of the library, because you have no authority over that. The library board has sole authority to do that. They can do whatever they want. Whether you include them on there or not is sort of irrelevant. Library board decides what, how they get paid. In essence, what it comes down to is Section 4358 of the statutes gives the library board exclusive control over the expenditure of any monies that are appropriated by the governing body or donated to the library fund. So they get to do what they want with their money. They also get to decide, 43.58 sub 4 says the library board shall supervise the administration of the public library, shall appoint a librarian who shall appoint such other assistants and employees as the library board deems necessary and prescribe their duties and compensation. So very clearly that statute says it's the library board that has control over hiring, firing, fixing wages, that kind of thing. Now, there is a level of control that the city has, that you as a common council have, that by virtue of the fact that you do hold some purse strings, you do annually appropriate a certain amount to the library, but all you're doing is appropriating a dollar amount. You can't tell them what is to happen with that dollar amount. They get to decide that for themselves. There was a restriction in the past where reduction in funding by the city was limited by a maintenance of effort standard, but that was repealed by 2011 Wisconsin Act 32. So that no longer is in effect. So the way that you control those kinds of things is by determining how much money you give the library. There is also one other piece, which is there is a 1939 Attorney General opinion. It's old, but it has never been overturned, that says library employees are municipal personnel for the purposes of the civil service system statute, which basically gets to issues about non-compensation based benefits. So for example, they would be on our benefit plan, and we can't sort of cut their benefits to something different than what the rest of the city employees get, or to the flip side, increase that. We can't change, they can't do something differently about vacation statutes, although the Library Association takes a different view of that. But as I look at that Attorney General opinion, issues like those kinds of benefits, those are still under your control. But pay, that's entirely in their control, and anything you have in the pay plan, regardless of what you do with it, it is entirely irrelevant and meaningless.
Thoughts, comments?
Chair?
Yes.
Thank you. So now I'm very confused.
Go ahead.
And the main reason being that the library, with all the relative compensation, has been in our paperwork, and we have been looking at the library together with all the other departments since, the last 3 months. Now suddenly we learn that it is irrelevant. I'm not sure why we were not told that before. I mean, I don't understand. We have... Well, I mean, in association with what we have been discussing in the last 2 or 3 months, I was not aware of that. So I was not aware that it would be irrelevant. If I knew that, I would have saved a lot of time looking at the paperwork that we have been discussing. So I was not aware of that. I'm very surprised about that. Thank you, of course, for the clarification. So I think I need time to understand how to approach this right now. But thank you.
Any other comments?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Wisconsin State Statute, Chapter 43, all right? It said that that's because they're already under the authority of another board. Does that also include the Uptown Social? Because they have a board there.
No, they don't. That is a Friends Board, and a Friends Board is simply an organization that's created to support. So, you know, anything that they may have as far as a... Yeah, but that's under the city. The Senior Services Commission is a city. You still control them. The Friends Boards, those are separate things. We can talk about Friends Boards and what they can and can't do. A lot of times they want to do more than they can. But all they are is really their organizations designed to give money to a city organization, because sometimes it's hard for the city to raise money because people don't like giving money to the city. They don't mind giving it to an entity that supports the city. It's all about semantics. But that's really all that they do. But anything that the senior center, other, you know, they're all governed by the city.
Thank you.
I have a question. So is the library, or is the library not a city department?
It is a city department, but you have no authority over it. So a lot of times, I think it is common for people to think of the Common Council as the ultimate authority. And in most cases, the Common Council is the ultimate authority. But there are exceptions, and one of those exceptions is here, where the state statutes have said that the municipal library is governed by a separate entity, which is the library board, which is sovereign when it comes to those particular issues. And so the only control you really exercise is how much money you give them and who you appoint to that board. That's it.
Okay, so if we included them in the wage study because they were a department of the city that is not police, not fire, not transport, which is all union. Is that accurate?
I don't know why they were included in there, other than I think in the past there was some thought that the library wanted to have it be the same, and so they just sort of asked to have people sort of in there. But that's really them taking our plan and saying our people fit on the plan at this level. It's not us putting them in the pay plan. It's them putting themselves in the pay plan by saying our employees who do this are going to be a level B, our employees who do this are going to be a level C, our employees who do this are going to be a level D. And that's all it is. And if they choose to do that, they can, but that only determines how they decide to pay themselves. It might be a convenience for the library board to do that. In fact, it probably very much is, because again, there's another issue, which is that the statutes are sort of strange in that the library board decides how all their money gets spent, but all they really do is appropriate it, and then it goes to the city to actually do it. Yeah.
Okay. So the city administers the
City
plan.
administers it, they write the checks, but the library board tells you how to write the checks.
So the city, it is a city department, and we do administer the pay plan.
We administer it by
Check, right.
writing out the checks, but they have, the library board has the authority to determine how much those checks are. All we are doing is saying, library board, who do you want paid and how much? And yes, sir, yes, ma'am, that's what we'll do.
Okay. I'm old, and I was here when the library and the city negotiated together to become part of the city pay plan, dare I say, pay plan. And it occurs to me, if they negotiated to be in it, they should probably negotiate to be out of it.
So I'm not sure. I would have to see any documents about that. And I don't recall that, and I'm pretty old too. But I suspect that was not about the pay plan. It was about the benefits. Because the benefits, that the city controls.
Okay. Thank you. All right, any other questions? Grazie.
Thank you. So if it is by Wisconsin statute, so it applies to all libraries in the state of Wisconsin the same way.
Correct.
Right?
All public libraries,
All
yes.
public libraries, right? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Heidemann?
Thank you, Chairman. Since it was, okay, since it was my recommendation to take them out of the pay plan, I did some exploring myself, called a number of other boards, presidents, and they told me the council has no control on what we pay our employees. So if their pages weren't making enough money, it wasn't the common council's fault. It was the board's fault. They could have paid them more money all along, but they chose not to. It wasn't our decision. And I would take the information that we got from this study, from Carlton Detman, and look at it to see what they want to use for themselves. If they don't want to use it, they don't have to use it. So, again, I was concerned too about whether or not they were actually part of the city plan, and I found out that they're not. So, again, this study has nothing to do with the library. So whether we take them out of the plan or not, it really doesn't make any difference whatsoever, because they can do what they want.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to talk?
I don't think it would be good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I'll make a motion to file this.
Oh,
more?
we're still going. There's more. Oh, there's more.
There's more.
There's more.
I'm excited.
There's more.
Stay on the edge of your seat.
There's more. Caitlin?
All right, thank you. I also just wanted to provide some context I've shared 3 different scenarios already for 2 new scenarios for costing. Then we also had the original implementation. I did come up with another costing scenario because some alders reached out to me being concerned about the affordability of the compensation plan. So I did want to at least publicly provide this information. This just shows that there's every 5 years you get another step. So instead of having the implementation plan be that if you have the 5-year minimum that you'd be at a step 5 and that was it, we have it that it'd be a step 3 and then goes up to 8, up to 30 years. You'd be at a step 8, and those are the estimated amounts to implement. based on now the 7/24 date that I provided earlier, and then also 2023 is included, and that just has a 2% COLA as a placeholder just for reference. Additionally, I wanted to provide some 2023 budget information. We got our net new construction number last week, and so the preliminary calculation for 2023 levy increase allowed is only $378,000. I will say we, during 2022's budget process, we did come up with some ways to better structure the budget. So I'm hoping we can come up with some things like that for 2023. But this is just showing the little amount of money that we have to increase for next year. And there's a couple other items that I listed just for reference as well, that we have already negotiated pay increases with 3 unions, but we also have the transit union that is in active negotiations for 2023. We have increased costs surrounding all kinds of things. I've got disposables on here, projects and contracted services. Fuel, for example, is a big one that I know all of us have been seeing. And then we did also receive that the Wisconsin Retirement System employer contributions are increasing. So instead of 6.5%, I believe it's at right now, for a general employee, it'll be 6.8% of their salary, and it goes up to another 1.7% for protective services without Social Security. So there's a range in there, but WRS, or Wisconsin Retirement System, those contributions that are required of us, we have no option, are increasing. So I did want to at least bring forward some information to just let the committee know what kind of situation we're looking at for 2023.
Caitlin, would you go back to the previous slide? That one. Talk me through years in current position and the minimum step placement. And if we go to the far right, that's the 5 years. That's the control point.
So,
Understanding that.
So the years in current position is based on the person. So if we look at the minimum step placement, step 5, which is our control point, with this implementation, you would have had to be in your position for 15 years to be placed on the control point. I did pull some information, and I, of course, have it on my desk downstairs, but there are several individuals that, because they're currently between a 3 and a 4, they would be placed at a 4. I believe it was 12 people out of 20 that would have missed then that 5-year step mark. They would then be getting that step 5 January 1st of 2023, so they'd be on step 4 for 6 months out of 2022. But I have that information and can send it out to those who are interested. But this is, it was requested of me to provide something that showed longevity but was not as costly as implementing everybody to the correct step based on years of service. So this is just an example. It's not necessarily a recommendation. I just have been asked to do several different implementation scenarios. So that is what I'm providing today.
And this is scenario number 3.
Yes, we had, I have the other ones with me too. So the implementation that was originally proposed is the one on the screen. So that is, again, if you have 5 years of experience at the city, you would be at a step 5 minimum. However, if you are in between steps, you would go to the next step even if you don't have those 5 years. So if just as an example, if I had 4 years of experience here at the city and I was currently between a 2 and a 3 on the steps, I would be placed at a 3 because I'm not at that 5-year minimum mark. However, if I'm at between an 8 and a 9, still with 4 years of experience here, I would be placed at a 9 because the entire pay schedule would be implemented so that every individual is on a step, so that they're part of the plan. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. Other questions?
The sun is out.
Okay. You had, is there more?
Nope, those are my 3.
All right. We have 3 different things. The first was back pay. so that we can go to compensation effective as of July 24th. The second one was out of the pay plan, the library out of the pay plan. And the third one was additional analysis with where you fit on the pay scale, the sliding scale. Okay. So if we've got 3 different topics, let's break them up. And we can either file the entire report and wait for Patrick for the review, or we can give some guidance moving forward. Do we have to do that? Do we have to vote on it to give the guidance?
So at this point, any guidance you're giving is really sort of general because you're not approving anything. So you can sort of generally discuss, where you think the direction might be, but until you actually approve a plan, that's how you implement. And what Caitlin will do and others will be to listen to your discussion and get a sense of where the committee is going, so that hopefully they provide you a plan that you're going to like. But there's no need, really the proper thing to do here is to file the document once you're done discussing whatever it is that you want to discuss.
Okay, thank you. Okay. The sense of the committee for back pay, it had been brought up before. So if this does not get passed until September or October, and we're hearing that it must be passed in the calendar year, do we want to do back pay effective July 24th? Yes, Dean? My fingers are cold and they won't.
You have too many open. Close a few. There you go. Look close. Give it a tap. There you go. Now try his. Now hit his. There you go. You're good.
Okay. All right. I know I made a lot of Caitlin especially nervous when I brought up the back pay in the first place, so I applaud all your work that you've done with this. Would I like to be it to be July 10th? Yes, but it's what's practical and what's I would be happy to see this go through this way. I think this at least compensates. At least we have a starting date where people can go from. They know that they're going to get paid up to back to that point. I think that it's a good compromise, and I'm glad. I applaud you guys for getting this all implemented. So thank you.
Other thoughts, comments? Thank you, Dean. Okay, that's that one. And the library out of the pay plan. Thoughts, comments? Grazia?
Technically, I don't think we need to do anything on that. I mean, based on what the attorney just said, basically, there is no option that we have to look at.
Is that accurate?
He's still lit. He's on. Don't touch.
Yeah, it is generally accurate. You might have a document that includes people from the library on a particular pay plan, but it's meaningless because the library does what it does. They may choose to implement themselves this plan and put people at whatever ranking that the plan does. They may choose to do something different, but what you do really only impacts the regular city employees and not the library employees.
Anybody else? I am Dean.
I guess I would just recommend that you give the library their study. This is what it is. Do with it what you will. And that's pretty much. The study has been done. It's there. The paperwork is there. They can do what they want with it once it's implemented. So that would be my recommendation.
I am of the opinion that it's the wage study. They are part of the city. They are they are a department. They've been in the wage study. We can pass it. And the other is they negotiated with the city to, again, it might have been only for benefits and it may not. I just say, let it go through as it is and don't futz with it. That's a technical term. Don't futz with it. Mayor Sorensen.
You gotta close one out.
I gotta close one.
It says chair on the board.
Oh, it does. It says planning and development.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that the original intent of why we included the library is because that we want to be partners and better improve communication between all city departments that have non-represented employees. And I know that we have the library director here as well as the library board president, that maybe if they could chime in and provide a little more detail, because I know in the past that the city does have an agreement between the library as well as City Hall. So I guess I just am teeing that resource up. I have not read the agreements myself, but I think that there might be some information that we're missing just in the greater terms of the conversation that we're having here, so. It doesn't hurt us to include it, I guess, is my point as well, too, but if the library director or library board president has more context to any historical agreements that we might have based on either historical salaries or compensation or benefits as well. I know that that has been part of the conversation that we've teed up on a little bit before.
Alder Perella.
Yeah, I was just,
Hold on, please.
There you go.
so I don't know if, isn't there also a memorandum of understanding between the library and the city as far as division of responsibilities? And if there is none, could there be one that establishes a different, in different terms, the relationship between the library and the city?
So a memorandum of understanding is sort of different than a contract in that it just simply interprets, right? So you already have an agreement and now a memorandum of understanding says this is how we understand this. You could have a memorandum of understanding, and there may well be, that says here's how we interpret the statutes in this particular situation. What a memorandum of understanding can't do is go against the statutes. So you couldn't create an agreement between City Hall and the library that takes away the authority of the library board to make decisions on how they're going to spend their money, including salaries. You couldn't you couldn't have a memorandum of understanding that changes that makes an agreement that library employees are going to be treated differently than city employees as far as benefits goes. But you can potentially have a memorandum of understanding that says, so for example, the statutes provide that the library board controls its money. It makes it makes its appropriations. It tells finance how they want the checks cut. The finance department then cuts those checks. You could have a memorandum of understanding that says, okay, as long as you get us stuff by day 1, we'll make sure the checks are written by day 5, things like that, sort of the practical types of things. Those would be perfectly okay to do. But you can't change the terms of the statute by some kind of a memorandum of understanding. We're still bound by those.
And then, may I?
You may.
Historically, how has this been dealt with as far as alignment of compensation of the library with all what you said? Historically, have we been aligning the library employees' compensation to the rest of the city, which is what makes more sense to me? Has that been done historically?
Anybody here know the answer to that?
To be honest, I do not have that background of when that was a human resources function at the time. or still is, but that was a human resources initiative, I will say. So I do not have that background. That happened before I was here.
It may be that it was, but if any alignment is done, it's done by the library board. So we can't tell them, you must align. We can't threaten them to, other than just the purse strings that we say, okay, we're going to give you this much money. They get to decide that. Now, if they choose to voluntarily, if the library board votes and says, we're going to be part of the city's pay plan, we're going to pay our employees the same amount that, we're going to put these people in the categories that the pay plan says, they have the right to do that. And we can't stop them because they still have the control over that. If they say, no, we don't like it, we're gonna bump people up to different categories, or we're gonna put a minimum wage or whatever, they can do that. We can't stop them. They are sovereign when it comes to how they pay their employees. The only control there is do they have money to do it?
Are you done? Okay. We have been looking at this pay plan for months, seems like years, but it's only months. And the library employees have known that we have 200 plus employees who are scheduled for a raise. So if we remove the library from the pay plan, which I don't think we should do. I think we should just pass the pay plan, and as the city attorney has said eloquently, the library board can then override or do whatever the library board chooses to do, okay?
They would have to do something. They can't ride our coattails. They would have to vote to also be part of the pay plan.
Okay, so the city attorney said the library board would have to vote to be part of the pay plan or not be part of the pay plan and move forward. My concern is for the employees at the library who have been expecting the raise. And I believe we would be able to calculate the dollar amount that they would be expecting this year. And I think it would be unnecessarily punitive if we were to say, you don't get that amount. So if this moves forward, I would think that our calculations should continue, including them, and then we continue discussions with the library about various items, and we sit down together to do that. With the city attorney present, since you know the ins and outs of what we can and can't do. And I'm assuming the library knows what we can and can't do. And I'm assuming the city knows what we can and can't do. So I would think that moving forward, we need to think about those employees and move forward with the dollar amounts that we have this year. Yes, you may.
Thank you, Chair. This question is for City Attorney Adams. Chuck, I guess the question that I have is, the reason that we pulled the library in was to show, inclusivity as part of a group. The question that I have is, if the library is to follow what the city has presented with the Carlson-Detman, but makes changes, which they have state statute ability to do, the concern that I have is then that they really should be updating the city so that the pay plan reflects that, so that when employees from the library look at the document, that it's representative. And I guess what I mean by that is, if you have X position with a certain pay grade and the library votes to change that pay grade, that document should be updated so that any employee working at the library understands what that pay grade actually is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. It's more of a policy question. I think the legal answer to that would be the library board would need to properly instruct the finance department how to pay their employees. And the way they would do that would be by either adopting the city's pay plan as also the library's pay plan, adopting some different pay plan, adopting the city's pay plan with modifications, and then making the same instructions as the Common Council will as to things like retroactivity and all those kinds of things. And then the city just simply would write the checks based on that, but that would basically come from the library board.
Right, and my concern is obviously, as we all have been finding out, that we have multiple documentation that are separate, so that we need things to be more blended, so that, like you said, if they make a change, they would need to notify us so that we can make sure that our documents are accurate and up to date.
Right, they would have to do that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thoughts, comments? Anybody else? Okay. The committee would like to hear. I'll poll the committee.
Yes.
Would you like to hear?
I'm moving to file the report.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to file the report. All right, is there a second? There's a move and a second to file the report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Okay. Okay. Moving forward, the library and the city hopefully will meet together, city in terms of Mr. Adams, Attorney Adams, to figure out where we go next, because the council is still working with the document that says, here's everything, the library's included, now where do we go? Everybody got that? Okay. Cheryl entered, we have August 22nd is our next meeting. And at that meeting, Patrick Detman will be there.
There is one more item.
Oh, I missed one. Oh, my goodness. Hiring process update for the Director of Human Resource and Labor Relations. Who wants to take this? Okay, Todd.
The green one. Thank you, Chair. The good news and update is the fact that in a few minutes, when we go into our first special Common Council meeting, after the Finance and Personnel meeting concludes, we will be bringing forward the appointment of Tony Muse to the position of Director of Human Resources and Labor Relations. She has accepted an offer to become the city's HR. I know,
Oh,
right,
geez.
Caitlin? Right, Caitlin?
Just had a bird.
I'm just going to cross out Tony and keep Caitlin, but anyway, we're excited to have Tony come on board. She has been through many interviews. We've had department heads involved in this. We've also brought in outside city HR to also assist us in this process. And we'll be addressing that in the special Common Council meeting. So hopefully during that Common Council meeting, it will move forward, and then it'll be moved to the council meeting. It has to lay over, and it'll lay over until next week, Monday's council meeting, and then hopefully that will continue to move forward, and then her start date would be August 29th.
Okay, thoughts, comments? Todd, can you tell us a little bit where Tony came from?
I've never met her parents, but her background, professional experience, she's worked for the Safeway Services LLC for several years, 5+ years as a recruiter and HR generalist. She worked for Spancrete as the Director of Human Resources, 2015, 2016, also the manager from 2012 to 2014, so she's been there for 4 years. She was with the Village of Caledonia, the Racine County. She was the Director of Human Resources for the municipal sector from 17 to 21. And she presently works for the Coons Auto Group, July 2021 to present, and they have over 450 employees and several locations. So the beautiful part that we see as a department from the department heads is that she's worked in the private sector, in large corporations, several locations, and then she's also worked in municipality, so she understands the grind of government. So what's really interesting is when you have a city government like we do, we have multiple facilities, multiple groups, multiple contracts, and she's used to that from her Caledonia experience. So she's very excited to come on board, and she does understand the state of affairs that we're in right now. Any questions?
So do we need a motion to recommend or not? Nope. Okay,
believe that was
it's
just an update. Just an update.
All right. Okay. Any questions? Nope. All right. Now, item number 11, next meeting is August 22nd with Patrick, who will give us the additional report post-meeting with department heads, including the library, which is the department, and we will move forward from there. Okay, our business being concluded, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Hearing none, we are adjourned.
Now we have